Newstead Abbey, UK. One of Nottinghamshire's most beautiful historic haunted buildings. Newstead Abbey, near Nottingham, originally an Augustinian priory, is now best known as the ancestral home of Lord Byron. Many additions were made to the original building. The 13th-century ecclesiastical buildings are largely ruined during the dissolution of the monasteries. Early in the 18th century, the fourth Lord Byron landscaped the gardens extensively, to which William Byron, 5th Baron Byron, added Gothic follies. It became a stately and glamorous estate. William Byron, known as the Wicked Lord, was eccentric and violent and ruined the estate. Lord Byron's son and heir, also named William, eloped with Juliana Byron, the daughter of William's brother John Byron. Lord Byron felt that intermarrying would produce children plagued with madness and strongly opposed the union. He also needed his son to marry well in order to escape the debt that had been incurred in the Byron name. When defied by his son, he became enraged and committed himself to ruining his inheritance so that, in the event of his death, his son would receive nothing but dead and worthless property. He laid waste to Newstead Abbey, allowing the house to fall into disrepair, cutting down the great stands of timber surrounding it, and killing over 2,000 deer on the estate. His vicious plan, however, was thwarted when his son died in 1776. William also outlived his grandson, a young man who, at the age of 22, was killed by cannon fire in 1794 while fighting in Corsica. The title and Newstead Abbey was then left to his great-nephew, George Gordon, who became the 6th Baron Byron when the 5th Lord died on the 21st of May 1798, at the age of 79. Upon his death, it is said that the great number of crickets he kept at Newstead left the estate in swarms. The young Lord Byron soon arrived at Newstead and was greatly impressed by the estate. The scale of the estate contributed to Byron's extravagant taste and sense of his own importance. However, no less impressive was the scale of problems at Newstead, where the yearly income had fallen to just £800 and many repairs were needed. He and his mother soon moved to Nottingham, and neither lived permanently at Newstead for any extended period. His view of the decayed Newstead became one of the romantic ruin, a metaphor for his family's fall. Throw thy battlements, Newstead, the hollow winds whistle. Thou, the hall of my fathers, art gone to decay. The estate was leased to the 23-year-old Henry Edward Yelverton, 19th Baron Grady Ruthine, from January 1803. The lease was for £50 a year for the Abbey and Park for 5 years, until Byron came of age. Byron stayed for some time in 1803 with Lord Grey, before they fell out badly. In 1808, Lord Grey left at the end of his lease and Byron returned to live at Newstead and began extensive and expensive renovations. His works were mainly decorative, however, rather than structural, so that rain and damp obscured his changes within just a few years. Byron had a beloved Newfoundland dog named Bosun, who died of rabies in 1808. Bosun was buried at Newstead Abbey and has a monument larger than his master's. The inscription, Byron's Epitaph to a Dog, has become one of his best-known works. Near this spot are deposited the remains of one who possessed beauty without vanity, strength without insolence, courage without ferocity, and all the virtues of man without his vices. This praise, which would be unmeaning flattery if inscribed over human ashes, is but a just tribute to the memory of Bosun, a dog who was born at Newfoundland, May 1803, and died at Newstead Abbey, November 18, 1808. Byron had wanted to be buried with Bosun, although he would ultimately be buried in the family vault at the nearby church in Hucknall. He was determined to stay at Newstead. Newstead and I stand or fall together, and he hoped to raise a mortgage on the property, but his advisor John Hanson urged a sale. This would be a preoccupation for many years and was certainly not resolved when Byron left for his Mediterranean travels in 1809. Upon his return to England in 1811, Byron stayed in London, not returning to see his mother who had been living in Newstead. She died, leaving him distraught at his own negligence of her. He lived again at the Abbey for a time, but was soon drawn to life in London. The Abbey is said to be haunted by little Sir John. Sir John has been seen sitting in his favorite chair in the library, reading a book. Sophie Hyatt, the White Lady, a devoted fan of Byron, the White Lady continues to walk around the estate of her hero. Not so likely to be seen indoors. The Goblin Friar, dressed from head to toe in a black cloak. The Goblin Friar appears before a disastrous event. The Rose Lady. This lady could be hard to spot. She is mostly recognized by her distinctive Victorian scent. The Black Friar, and like the other friar, this one displays a much more caring nature as he points out the way to the lost. For the next few years, Byron made several attempts to sell the Abbey. It was put up at auction in 1812, but failed to reach a satisfactory price. A buyer was found, however, who offered £140,000, which was accepted. By spring 1813, though, the buyer, Thomas Clafton, had only paid £5,000 of the agreed down payment. Byron was in debt and had continued to spend money on the expectation that the house would be sold. Negotiations began to degenerate and Byron accused Clafton of robbing the wine cellar. By August 1814, it was clear that the sale had fallen through, and Clafton forfeited what he had paid of the deposit. Byron was now without settled financial means and proposed marriage to the heiress Anne Isabella Milbank. Clafton did return with new proposals involving a reduced price and further delays. Byron turned him down,